Welcome back, everybody. How we doing? So, got a pretty good show for you guys today. What we're gonna do is they ABC finally released a video version of the Trump interview. So we're gonna watch this all the way through, hear it directly from Trump, and kind of see what his perspective is on the first 100 days. Then I'm gonna give my report card. I have a lot of these consumer goods that I picked out. I was doing this analysis yesterday. If you guys haven't checked out our article breaking down the federal budget and the Fed's balance sheet. I kind of did an audit of the Treasury and the Fed. So if you guys want like a shortened breakdown, we put that on the Chart Addicts website. The link is in the description below. But then I went through and I wanted to figure out, are consumer prices actually coming down? And I've marked off on each of these, hopefully if they load, the day that Trump got into office. So that's going to be the first red line. And then the second red line is going to be the date that tariffs went into effect. So we have crude oil over here. The day that Trump got into office, this is January 20th over here. You guys can see a sharp decline in oil prices. And then the day that tariffs were announced, you guys can see what happened here with oil prices. Okay, massive decline from $71 a barrel down to 59. So these are really interesting. I picked some of the more popular consumer goods. So we have milk, we got orange juice, we have coffee, sugar, potatoes, cheese. We're going to be looking at the balance of trade, so imports versus exports. We have the unemployment rate. We're going to go through that real quick. Inflation, how are things looking on the inflation side? And then the gross federal debt to GDP ratio. So how much money is the government overspending versus our total production? So we're going to go through these one by one instead of like trusting ABC or Yahoo or whoever to give us their spin on the first 100 days, or get it from Trump, because obviously Trump is going to cheerlead all of his own policies. Let's go through it and let's look at it ourselves. Now, I'm going to try my best to keep this non-political so that we can stick to the economic and the market impacts of the tariff policies and some of the Trump decisions. But there's no promises. All right. This might, we might, I have a lot of strong opinions now about uh, Trump's performance in terms of deportation. 65,000 deportations in the first 100 days. Does anybody really think that that's, like, this is a D minus at best? And then we're also, where's the Epstein list? Where's the reforms in the intelligence services? The new budget that they proposed is going to put us in more debt than we were in before. So all this Doge bullshit looking into USAID, all of these programs are about to get refunded. This, the big beautiful bill is going to put us in a lot more debt. And I just don't understand. That should be the number one conversation, is that we voted for. Now, the one thing is that when it comes to interactions at the border, they actually have significantly reduced. So I think it was like 30 interactions last month versus, I think at the peak we had 200,000 interactions or 250,000 interactions at the border during the Biden administration. So in terms of closing down the border, they've definitely they get an A plus on that. Now in terms of deportations, like they deporting 3 people that wrote an op-ed against Israel, I'm saying, gay hairdresser somewhere, they're beefing over this MS-13 guy, Maryland, whatever. Like, these are not the hills you want to die on, because they're going to hinder your ability to actually carry out the mandate, to actually deport the people and the criminals you said you were trying to deport. Every one of these interactions were like one guy who kind of is or kind of isn't, and you kind of brush it off as, well, we don't have to bring him back, and who cares about this guy? That's going to hurt your ability to carry out the responsibilities this country voted you in for. So first 100 days, deportations, 65,000 is the number. That's abysmal. We're going to look at tariff policies. I think we're doing great, but I don't really like this. We threatened the whole world with tariffs. We basically had an outline of the reciprocal tariffs come out the day of. So like nobody had a heads up notice. France got the invoice the same day that Trump made the decision and the White House made the decision. So it caught the whole world by surprise, and it was going to lead to massive changes. And then we granted a reprieve to over 70 countries, right, for, what was it, 90 days. And we kind of showed our hand, which is this was all about China after all, because threatening these countries and then showing that we're serious was actually more of a power move to kind of like signal to China, when we come for you, just know that we're actually going to levy these. We're actually going to put these on. But that only works if we actually tariffed all these countries. Now we do have 10% across the board, which I think is better than nothing. But this whole reciprocity and trying to get the balance of trade back with all these different countries, getting them a pause for 90 days doesn't exactly show that we're serious. So I mean, there's some genuine concerns. Bombing the Houthis out of nowhere. Okay, yes, there was some blockages in terms of Houthi pirates stopping international trade through those waters, and it was hindering kind of the global supply chains. Valid. In the Signal chat that got leaked, Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, and everybody in there was talking about the Houthi attack not being time sensitive. I mean, like there was no reason to do that attack. Like they could have not done it at that time. They could have gone and got Congress's approval before conducting an act of war. So it's like there are genuine things that we can criticize this administration for. But when it comes to the economic policies, this seems to be what everyone's focused on, how tariffs are going to make prices go up and all this bullshit. That's actually the one area where I'd give them an A. Because after looking at some of the prices that I'll show you, you'll realize that all consumer goods have come down. Egg prices are down like 80%. And so let's go ahead and hear it from Trump directly. And let me know if you guys have any questions along the way. We'll cover these up. If this video will load, something's going on with the internet here. Maybe it's not even the internet. Maybe it's just ABC News. Four hours ago, because they released the audio only version for some reason. And then today they finally released the full version. And when I watched it this morning, it was at like 360p, the resolution. And it was just, I was like, but what the hell is ABC doing? Who is producing the show? Stop letting kids near the control room. Gabby says we can't hear you. How about now? Oh, come on. That's so stupid. Let me try to figure this out. Oh, by the way, in the meantime, when you guys subscribe to the channel, by the way, I figured this out yesterday. When you go to the alerts, that little bell icon at the bottom, there's a lot of you guys have been telling me that you're subscribed and you have your notifications on, but you're not getting notified. So what you have to do is there's a setting for some notifications or all notifications. If you click all notifications, it's going to start showing up on your phone, letting you know when we go live, so you guys don't miss these streams. All right, give me 2 seconds, everybody. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here and why these videos won't load. What's going on? Let's try this. All right, this seems to be working. What's up, JLP? What's up, Christine? What up? What up? Two step. Good to see you guys. There we go. Oh, what is happening? Wasn't it just loading? All right, I have no idea what's going on here. If somebody has a clue, just let me know in the comments section how to fix that. In the meantime, I guess we'll just go through the report card here while that loads. Let's go through some of these consumer prices and let's see what we can find. Okay, so the video is playing, but there's just no sound. Yep. All right, we'll let that load up. Okay, let's just run through these real quick. So this is a list of different consumer goods, and we're going to track kind of the change in prices since Trump has been in office. So the most kind of famous one that everyone's been talking about is eggs. So let's take a look here. We'll do full screen. So the price of eggs was actually at its lowest May 2023. So post-COVID, this was the COVID era over here. I guess demand was really high. For some reason, prices were still low. Maybe it was something to do with production. But then 2022, prices went up. 2023, prices came all the way back down. And then what happened in the last probably 12 months of the Biden administration is that the price of eggs went from $1.20 a carton all the way up to $8. Now, since the day that Trump took office, which is January 20th, prices went from $8.10 all the way down to $3.22. Okay, so prices have dropped dramatically, and this is just kind of a 3-month snapshot of how prices are looking. So if anyone's saying that egg prices are high and grocery prices are high, they are coming down. And if the grocery stores have not reflected it yet, they will very soon. Okay, let's take a look at crude oil here. Crude oil, we had gas prices starting to go up towards the end of Biden's term. So basically, the last 2-3 months of Biden's term. And then the day that Trump took office, you guys can see January 20th right here. Price per barrel dropped from around $79 per barrel all the way down to 66. And then the day that the tariffs went into effect, price per barrel went from 72 all the way down to 59. So this thing dropped from about 80 a barrel down to about $59 a barrel in the last 3 months since Trump took office. This is going to be a significant factor in reducing people's monthly spending. Like if you kind of add up how much you spend on gas, when gas is $2.20 or when gas is $3.50, and you kind of play that out, it makes a big difference. Okay, that's just one expenditure. Then the grocery bill, like let's say you go to get groceries once a week. There's a difference between paying 150 and then 220 or 250. You add those up, a lot of people's what was the extra income that's going to get burned away quick, and that's where a lot of the credit card usage starts to come up, and of course that leads to a lot of debt problems. All right, so then let's look at milk here. Milk, $20 a gallon, or not a gallon. What is this? So this is a CFD for milk. You can trade milk CFDs, and forex is illegal. I mean, this is crazy. Milk reached an all-time high of 25.20. What is this? This is for gallon or what's CWT? All right. Well, I'm not an expert in milk CFDs, but what I'll tell you guys is $20 down to $16 looks like a pretty good drop. It looks like prices were dropping prior to Trump's administration, and so we're not really going to be able to credit all of that to Trump. Now, the day that tariffs went into effect, we do see milk prices starting to come back up, but this is only like 1 month of data. So, little retest. I still see an overall downtrend. Like the prices are overall trending down. Orange juice. Orange juice. The day that Trump took office, look at the price of orange juice. 483 all the way down to 254. What is this? That can't be per pound. $254 a pound? That doesn't make any sense. But basically, prices are down 49% since the beginning of 2025. So prices are in half. Like, think about all your favorite juice bars. Think about all the aggregated costs of them buying coffee, sugar, orange juice, napkins, whatever other goods. If all of your material costs or all of your input costs are cut in half, do you guys think that they're going to drop their prices? I would say so, unless they're pieces of shit, you know. But a lot of that would give these companies a lot of flexibility to start lowering prices. Okay, so everybody talking about how tariffs are, or even Trump's presidency is leading to inflation already. This is the exact opposite. This actually is like a sweet spot right now where everything is discounted. And so, great opportunity here. You can buy orange juice by volume like liters are got in the US. Orange juice, particularly for futures trading, is often priced by pound of soluble solids. This measure is the sugar content, not the actual weight or volume of the juice. JLP, you're a legend. Bro, soluble solids, this is awesome. All right, the unit is based on defined product quantity, both in the US market and the US futures market. Uh, the US futures market also uses the pound soluble solids to define the quantity of orange juice being traded. While volume, liters, and gallons might be used for. Okay, cool. Dude, super cool. So it's not even the overall weight. I wish they would do that with steaks, like a T-bone, like a bone-in steak. They'll be like, oh, it's 5 pounds, but it's 4.5 pounds of bone. What, you know? Actually, they do that at steakhouses. But anyways, it looks like YouTube is spazzing out. Maybe I have to delete the cookies or something. Seems like the overall malfunction in my system, but we're going to run through the rest of these prices here, and I'm going to try to restart the stream right after. Let's take a look at coffee prices. The day that Trump took office, coffee skyrocketed. So we went from 325 up to 430. Significant rise in the price of coffee. And then leading up to the tariff announcement, prices almost went back to kind of pre-Trump lows. But you guys can see here, this is why we're chart addicts. We can clearly see these lows are getting higher. So there's a clear uptrend forming, and the highs are also getting higher. All right, so we'll see if the market creates a lower high and then starts to come back down. If so, then we can reach as low as, those pre-Trump lows, which honestly, if you guys look at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and coffee, big expenditure, even though it's like one of those small things, it adds up. $7 coffees at Starbucks versus like 5.87, it makes a difference. It depends on who you ask. If you ask Dave Ramsey or you read the compound effect, it makes a difference. If you ask fucking like not Gary V, who's fucking Grant Cardone or I don't know. Somebody who like doesn't believe in like saving pennies and just like says make more money. I'm a big believer in that too. So I don't know. For if you're an entrepreneur or you're a trader, a lot of this stuff really, really doesn't matter that much because if you look at your total expenditures for your your what is it called? Your fixed spending, the things that you always spend money on every month. So you have your rent, you have your car, you have your insurance, you have whatever bills like heat, water, energy bills. Then you have groceries, you have food, and then you have like extra expenditures. Now, as a trader, let's say like you're making five grand a month when you're trading, and then you're living on 2,500. Now, when you start making 10 grand a month, that 2,500 doesn't need to change. You really can stay at that same level. And then, so the difference between spending 2,500 a month and then the prices start going up, and now you're spending, 3,000 a month doesn't really make that much of a difference for somebody whose earning potential isn't capped, right? It's not limited. You don't have a salary that says, here's the absolute high bound of what you can earn. Now, if you have a fixed income, that's where these problems start because if you only have $300 of residual income every month, and then now all the prices added up between your energy bills, um, filling up gas, grocery bills, even like eating out one time, that's going to add up to $300. All of your additional residual income is gone. And so I guess the real lesson here is number one, if you're living on fixed income, you're the biggest sort of like you're at the most risk of this inflation wave that may hit. If you're looking at ways to increase your earning potential, which most people should be, then you can kind of insulate yourself from most of this. Okay, go make $300 extra a month, and then you can kind of cover the cost. And we can weather this storm together by everybody rolling up their sleeves and getting to work. Because it might be a tough road, but if everybody has that entrepreneurial spirit and we're all looking out for ourselves, we don't need the government to look out for us, and they can actually clean up the budget, they can clean up the debt, and not have to worry about like subsidizing the population and like making everyone feel better. Everybody can fend for themselves. So, anyways, that's the real lesson: make more money. Sugar prices went up. Obviously, I think most of the sugar is coming from South America. There was tons of talks prior to Trump taking office about how closing the border is going to impact trade between South America and the US, how shipping lanes are going to get affected, the Panama Canal, et cetera. And so I think the Panama Canal deal is one of the bigger drivers of this because most of the South American to North American, that sort of like that NAFTA trade happens through the Panama Canal. And so figuring out that deal, getting first and free and some preferential treatment down there, and then just kind of signaling strength and optimism about bringing trade back up. Like we're working through illegal immigration deportations or folks who are claiming refugee status. We're not trying to stop the global supply chains of trade between us, Brazil, and Venezuela, and Colombia, and some of the countries producing the most popular consumer goods. Now, the tariff thing is a separate issue because number one, we have contention with these Latin American countries because of the deportations. Kind of we're playing our strong hand where if you don't want to take them back, we're forcing you to take them back. That's not really the best thing to walk into trade negotiations with, unless you just want to go full bully mode, which like we could, but that doesn't end well. On the flip side, there's the tariffs, which are also hindering a lot of the trade. But that's where the corporations are putting pressure on the government to give America whatever they want so they can bring prices down and get the show back on the road. So I think now that a lot of this has been cleaned up, now that the tariffs have been, I guess, clarified for who exactly is being charged for what, and I think the Panama Canal deal, I think, was a big driver in this. We've seen sugar prices drop to pre-Trump lows and potentially still dropping. I'm looking at some support forming here around the $17 mark, but more than likely we continue to drop as an effect of like all the other trends that we're seeing. Potatoes, massive drop. This one took a little bit of time. I guess the potato farmers were still getting subsidized a month into Trump's presidency, but actually, no, 3 weeks later, we have a massive drop in potato prices. I don't know why this is being priced in euros, even though this is a US. Shit, I guess for per 100 kilograms. Okay. Well, we've seen a significant drop in the price of potatoes. And then since April 2nd, tariff day, the price went from 22 down to 16.5. So overall drop in all prices. Do you guys see this? We've gone through, and we can do cheese as well. Cheese, basically, we're right back to where it was pre-Trump inauguration, but overall there was a positive trend there. Positive meaning like prices were dropping. So there's a two-sided effect here. Now, if you're a consumer, this is great news because we have cheaper prices. Like crazy enough for like economists to like believe this fact that consumers don't actually want high inflation. This 2% inflation target number that all the central banks are following doesn't actually suit the consumers at all. Why the hell do I want prices to go up every year? Why don't we just make better stuff and it gets cheaper? Like great corporations do that. Amazon, as it grows, it has more scale, it has more capacity, and it's more efficient, it has the efficiency. Prices come down. So these like mega conglomerate monopolies are actually disinflationary. Prices went down for consumer goods when Walmart and Amazon are competing with each other and they have to drop prices to compete over like marginal pennies, and the consumer wins. Now, on the GDP side, on the production side, corporations who hire people and small companies, small businesses who make up the majority of hiring, and this entire productivity structure that we've built relies on people buying stuff and relies on prices going up because that's a big way. We see oil companies and what are they called? The egg not manufacturers, fucking egg producers or whatever the hell they're called. They're up major profits because they were just able to charge more, and then they were able to create artificial scarcity. where there actually isn't a scarcity in eggs right now. There's just like 3 or 4 companies hoarding them. And that's creating that artificial supply crunch, which makes prices go up. You can just increase your profits for a company 20% by raising all your prices 20%. All your input costs stay the same. Hell, you can see that all their input costs are actually going down, but they could still be charging the same prices and just racking up on the profit margins. Okay, so these effects of prices coming down help consumers. They hurt businesses. They hurt producers. Overall, the U.S. consumer is more important than the producers because we're a net importing nation. We buy the world's stuff. And so if the producers take a hit and we're not selling as much stuff or it's just costing more to sell stuff, and so other countries just aren't buying it, but the US consumer is still consuming, the world keeps turning. So this is kind of a trade-off of who's going to get hit harder. I think the companies obviously get hit harder, but the benefit to the consumer outweighs it. That's my overall take. Trump crushing it on the financial side, crushing it on the trade negotiation and deal side, A plus. On everything else, C minus. A whole bunch of goofies. Where's RFK? But he banned Yellow 5. Sunny D had Yellow 5 back when I was in like fucking middle school. And there was a whole expose about it, and they stopped selling Sunny D's at the middle schools because Yellow 5 was like gonna make you infertile or some shit. But this was like 15 years ago. RFK comes out, he's like, we're gonna solve autism, we're gonna get vaccines. There's 75 vaccines in the childhood vaccine schedules, and the majority of these haven't been trial tested fully, and they're all non-recourse. And so there's like all these vaccine injuries that people can't sue these manufacturers for, even though they're like by law, you have to get these 75 fucking random meds, and then the autism rate going up. Okay, he said all this shit, right? Americans' biggest enemy, right? Ah, shit. But people got mad at Vivek Ramaswamy for saying that Americans are lazier than like Indians and Asians or whatever the fuck they said. Lost their fucking minds. Table salt and sugar are like America's biggest enemy. It ain't Al Qaeda. It's not Al Qaeda. It ain't Tren de la Ragua. It's fucking Doritos. That's the 2 leading causes of death. It ain't fucking ISIS. It's icing. All right. That's our fucking problem. RFK comes in. It's been 100 fucking days. He comes out, does this whole speech of a thing. I banned Yellow 5 and Red 3. Oh my fuck. Give this guy a fucking Nobel Peace Prize. 20 years ago. Okay, so I would say that's abysmal. Fauci's not even in jail. Fauci's not in jail. Roy, why would Fauci be in jail? He was just doing his job and then he fucked up. No, 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 no. This is not political. Read RFK's book, The Real Dr. Fauci. And tell me if this man is just like this like innocent old man doctor who like just did his best and like just wasn't really cut out for it. Or if this dude led to the deaths of millions of people. I don't know. But RFK wrote the fucking book, and now he's in charge of the Health and Human Services. And we have Jay Bhattacharya, the head of the NIH, and they haven't uncovered the fucking the grant Ponzi scheme that is run in these health services, where the NIH has a budget of 80 billion, and Fauci is like the Wizard of Oz, and he just grants these different projects funding, but he only funds projects that are in line with patents that he owns. And so when a problem happens, like the coronavirus, he's like, oh, well, we should try this new novel method like mRNA, which he's been funding exclusively and then taking funding away from everybody else. So like the shit that he owns is like the default method, but this shit doesn't even work. It's experimental. It was tested on 11 mice. 11 mice. That's who took the COVID shot. I've seen a mouse before. I don't look like that. 11 mice. Also, RFK, D minus. Pete Hegseth, like he fired like 5 people and just like roped them into this whole accusation that they were responsible for potential leaks in the Pentagon. But 5 of them were like his friends, and they all came out and said they hadn't been polygraphed. None of them had been like accused of that internally. They just kind of said that out loud because Pete Hegseth was under fire for leaking another group chat or giving classified information to his family, which there's all technicalities. Like I looked into it. He's able to declassify certain things. And so he's in a group chat with advisors and he's able to declassify information before giving it out. So it is at his discretion. But then firing people who have nothing to do with the thing. When you have actual leakers in the fucking Pentagon, do an audit. Where's the 2 trillion? Where's the fucking Ukraine money? Dude, what the fuck are these people doing in there? 100 days. It's all been for show. They took one dude who's like Venezuelan and they're like making this whole fucking parade of a thing. 65,000 deportations. People, we had over 10 million illegal immigrants come into this country. Well, you cannot have due process or a hearing or whatever the fuck you want to call it for 20 million or 15 million people. That's unsustainable. And people are like, well, what about the rule of law and the due process? This is the due process. Nobody got due process when they let 15 million people in here. So if you guys take out a calculator and you do 65,000 divided by 15 million, and then you take that as a percentage of the illegal immigrants that they said that they were going to send back, and then the ones they actually have, and then you realize that we've spent the last 30 days getting hung up on some dude they called a Maryland man, but he was like Venezuelan, but kind of, but not really. And like 3 people who wrote an op-ed against Israel are like getting their student visas revoked, even though they haven't committed any crime. Like this shit is so stupid. Okay. So, and everything except for the economy and tariffs, it's an F minus. Can we agree on this? Can I get a 1 if this is all tracking? I'm trying to give you guys as many anecdotal pieces of evidence as possible so that I'm not just like putting in my bias. But if we just look at the promises made and promises kept, and we look at a baseline of what was purported, what was promised, and then we measure that the distance between what actual reality is, the distance between the expectation and the reality right now is called disappointment. That's what that space in between is called. All right. So yeah, I guess nothing is loading. I'm gonna have to delete the cookies or the cache or whatever the fuck it is to be able to play these videos. But I really wanted you guys to hear Trump say this himself. It is what it is. John said, "Fucking tell him, Roy." He said, "No more freebies." Yep. I mean, look, I'm just saying it how it is. Did they say that they were gonna have like there was 100,000 people who were convicted of multiple murders? So there was over 100,000 people that were convicted of not one, but multiple murders back home. And they were released from prison and these people found their way into the country. Over 100,000, there was 300,000 Chinese nationals apprehended at the border, military-age men with no families. 300,000. You can't leave China, people. Jack Ma is the richest man. He's the Elon Musk of China. He tried to leave, but they kidnapped his families, got his ass back. We haven't seen Jack Ma since. When was the last time you guys heard of Jack Ma? Ant Group? They made him divest from Alibaba and just like took state ownership of it. You can't leave China. 300,000 military-aged men showing up here without their family with military haircuts. Those are the ones that were apprehended. How many of them got in that weren't apprehended? Dude, it's a fucking gay barber in California that wrote an op-ed said fuck Israel somewhere. And that's the one that we've been hung up on for 25 days. They're splitting the Republican Party in half between neocons and then anti-war conservatives. Neoconservatives versus war hawks. Like, let's send more shit to Ukraine and just ramp this bitch up. Fuck you, fuck Putin. Like, Ukraine and Russia and Israel, Palestine are bifurcating the Republican Party in real time. There's been a massive divide. And I think it's kind of doing the same for the Democratic Party, but I just don't think it's as big of an issue as it is for the Republicans because the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again, is America first. And so that's not isolationist, but that's protectionist, meaning that you have to prioritize your country's well-being and your welfare first. And if you look at the foundation of this country, look at George Washington in his farewell address, talking, basically warning the U.S. not to get into these foreign war interventions because that's going to be the demise of our country. World War I, same thing. World War II destabilized the world. I mean, there was the global world order that America set up. But if you look at everything that's transpired since World War II and the hegemony that America's created, it's been net negative for our relations around the world. These things, foreign intervention at the behest of other countries' interests over our own has only led to worse and worse outcomes. And so the Make America Great Again arm, which had the popular vote, and really led most of the small districts in the swing states. That's anti-war. The traditional establishment folk, we had Lindsey Graham and some of these folks that really should just get impeached at this point. If anybody had some sense, like Marco Rubio, like most of these people should not be in these positions. They're the ones sounding the war drums. They want to send more bombs. They said bomb them to hell and all this other dumb rhetoric. On behalf of who? Not in our interest. Why the hell would we go to war with Iran? For what? Yeah, they're chanting death to America. Guess what? They're also far as fuck from America. If you guys want to look at a map, people can't even, but these terrorist groups can't even send countries across two borders to hit another country, and like it's dropping on their own people, and like they had this collateral damage with friendly fire and ricochets and things like that. You're telling me they're going to send missiles across the Atlantic Ocean to the US, and that's our threat? Geographically, that they have to get through Jordan, they have to get through Lebanon, they have to get through Iraq. They got to fly these things over Iraq, over the Mediterranean Sea, over Israel, over all of that, right? They have to fly it over Europe, over Greece, over Italy. They're going to fly it over the Atlantic and then attack the US. Come on now. All right. So we should not be going to war with Iran. It makes no sense. And does anybody have a better argument for why we should go to war with Iran, even though they're posing no immediate danger to our borders? Like, Roy, but they're funding militia terrorist groups and they're fighting these proxy wars. So are we. We were funding Al Qaeda against the Houthis. Al Qaeda is the one that was chaining death to America. You guys remember 9/11? You guys remember every terrorist attack, like ever, against America? Al Qaeda, those people? We're funding them. We were funding them in Syria to fight ISIS. What the hell are we talking about? Oh, but Iran's funding proxy wars. People, are we fought the Taliban to basically like create an underground coalition with them over the heroin, over the poppy field, so that we can create this narco industrial and pharmaceutical empire in America where Vicodin and Percocets and all this stuff, the core ingredient is poppy seeds. And we were in Vietnam for 20, then we were in fucking Afghanistan. And then we gave it back to the Taliban. The same people were fighting for 20 years. We funded the Taliban to help us fight the Soviets. We created them. And then we were fighting them. And we're funding Al Qaeda to fight the Houthis. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Now, foreign policy and all this, I'm not a foreign policy expert, right? Maybe there's a good reason for us to be funding all these fucking small-time militia groups, training them with US intelligence, training them with US equipment, giving them US equipment, giving them financial aid, giving them international backing and cover, right? By kind of, masking some of our proxy involvement. I'm not an expert. Maybe we have a good reason to do that. But we can't sit there and just say we got to go to war with Iran because they do bad things and they're doing the same shit that we're, you know what I'm saying? Like we're all doing it, and we're doing it worse. Everybody wants to kill us. Guess what? We fucked up. They want to kill us. Why? Because we keep funding intervention. You want to go kill 1 million innocent Iranians, and you don't think that's going to create 3 generations of militia groups that are going to take down the U.S.? But anyways, that's the bifurcation right now in the Republican Party. There's the pro-war versus anti-war. Very sensitive topic, but really it's fucking not. I just broke it down. There's no immediate threat, so this is not self-defense. They pose no geographical threat or danger to the US. And really, I guess the country itself doesn't want to be in the state that they're in, where they're outcast from the global economy. They're not allowed to use the international payment systems, payment rails. They're sanctioned for international trade. And so our partners can't trade with them. So they're kind of like blacklisted. They don't want to live under these conditions of subjugation. And so I think that de-escalation is the way forward. Trump can do it. And that's my take on kind of the geopolitical tensions brewing in the Republican Party. I don't like it, man. I don't like what's happening in the. Where's Vivek Ramaswamy? Guy walked in trying to make some real change. He said we shouldn't. He said we should allow more immigration. I think he basically called Americans stupid. He said he didn't call Americans stupid. He actually said Americans are lazy. And like somehow this created a fucking like shitstorm. Has nobody here seen Wall-E? Has nobody like seen the propaganda around the world of what people think about Americans? This is literally what 7 billion people think about America. You're going to sit here and be butthurt about acknowledging reality. Why is it that 90% of tech CEOs are Indian? Like the stats are the stats. Be like, well, white people dominate. Let's say white people dominate the NBA. But you'd be like, well, okay, well, Luka Doncic and whatever the other that tall fucking Serbian dude, whatever they're them aside, take them out the fucking take the extremes out. You would be hard pressed to say that, it's like statistically is 75% by people in the NBA. And that is a merit-based system. If you're the best, you're the best. Okay. Let's take CEOs then. If what Vivek said wasn't true, then why are 90% of the tech CEOs Indian in America? That's what I'm trying to say. He was just observing an objective reality. Now, if that pisses you off to the point where you're like, well, I'm going to make sure that I'm more capable. I'm going to make sure my kids are more capable. And this ends today. This ends with me. I'm not going to let people just walk in here and say that they're better than us and that they're harder working than us. Americans are the hardest working. We have the access to the best information and the best tools. This stops with me. I will be the most capable, right? If that was the reaction, I'd say that was incredible. Everyone took the right lesson away. But everybody was like, "Did you saying I'm dumb and lazy? Fuck you. Get out of the way." And he was one of the most productive people that we could have had in our government to actually have reform and change. The one change agent that I actually believed in, Vivek, they just sidestepped him instead of taking on his argument. Kind of just proving his point. Anyways, these videos not going to load people. I'm going to come back after I figure out this issue. If we just look at NASDAQ, members, you already know the setup. All right, beautiful Model 2. We went through this in the class and in the Discord. Zone 1, 2, and 3. We had a beautiful Zone 1 retest. That was a great buy. Then we had the shorts. Oh my God. And then the Model 2 longs. Beautiful. And then now we're going to have double top rejection. We're going to see a little bit of a dip down, but I'm actually confident that we have a continuation from here. This is something that I'm going to leave you guys with just from an education standpoint. You guys can take this one to the bank. I'm going to roast baby pips traders. So if you guys enjoy when I do that, here it comes. All right. Typically, whenever the market is very aggressive and it's reached the end of a trend. So in the NAS class, I kind of walked you guys through how trends form and kind of how to spot the different I guess, structural points in a trend. But when the market's getting ready to turn around, here's typically what you'll see. The market will start to consolidate. So it'll either wedge, it'll create a channel, it'll create something where the market is consolidating or trapping or accumulating liquidity. And then the market will do like typically a fake in one direction. I wonder what this resembles for the Chart Addicts members, whether it's a channel, a wedge, or a consolidation. There's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And so then what you'll see is you'll see a dip down. Okay. Now, what most people assume is that the market's going to continue to drop because this is what you'll see in baby pips, or if you go to look up, Forex chart patterns, and you print out the sheet and you have it next to you. This is a bearish pattern, right? What they don't teach you is number one, about this fake to the upside that breaks through the channel, clears liquidity. And they also don't tell you that this is typically a retest. All right. So Model 1, in case the Chart Addicts members, the Model 1 is going to be whatever the channel is. There's a support level. That's usually the Model 1 buys. Then there's going to be Model 2 right below. Okay, at a previous area of structure. And then you have a continuation. So you have a very, very slow, dry, kind of consolidating channel or wedge. You have a fake smash to the downside to clear all this liquidity. Everyone who's buying at the highs of the trend, whenever I say don't buy the highs, we don't buy tops, it's because this candle happens quick, this big sell-off. And so, yes, you could be making money trading every high or low here. And then at some point, you're going to keep trying to force the lows at these support areas and you will get crushed. All right. So that's the difference between what I would say 99% of like beginner traders who see these patterns, who are just like shorting the breakout of a channel versus the buy low, sell high crowd like us buying at these discounted areas. So congrats to everybody who bought it. Proud of you guys. What's going to happen here is you'll either have 88.6 sells, so 88.6 sells, and then continue, or clean breakout, and then break back in for the retest. So we'll see at this previous high here. Just draw your fib from the top to the bottom, find your sell zone. Personally, I'm not going to take that short. Kind of over traded today, so I'm going to be out for the rest of the day. But I'll update you guys as usual in the Discord chat for members. If you guys want to become a member, click the link in the description below. Hope to see you guys on the next stream. I'm going to cover exactly what Trump said about his first 100 days and his perspective. I will cover that piece by piece. All right, great to see you guys. Happy and safe trading, everybody.